What's up, everyone? Welcome on the Open Podcast with Michael. Today, I feel blessed to share an episode and a conversation I had with Quiggy. Quiggy is a dear connection of mine. He is a self leadership coach and mindfulness teacher who helps young leaders serve with joy and confidence. He guides his clients and communities in healing with mindfulness and self love while developing integrity and purpose. It was a pleasure to speak with him about healing in his journey toward peace and alignment, mindfulness meditation, and how the space or sources is always with us. We talk about abundance, processing trauma, being with pain, and instead of judging it as wrong, just loving the shit out of it. It was an eye opening conversation, and I had a beautiful 1 hour and a half with this guy. If you want to connect with him, all of his link will be in the show notes. Always, it was a pleasure to be open. This guy was really open with us and he shared with vulnerability. So I hope you will have an amazing podcast, and if it's aligned with you, if something resonates with you, and if you just want to support me on my vision to bring more and more people, to inspire people to just share love and share consciousness and just having fun and connection, please share and let a review and let a comment. It will help my vision to be spread. So thanks again and have a great podcast. Hi, good morning, Quiggy. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you here. So basically, we connected maybe 1 month ago after we both went into a free webinar with Preston Smile about spirituality, abundance, money, and just like freedom. And I asked the questions, and you reached out to me afterward, and we start having beautiful conversation because I think that we connect on some topic. So
Yeah.
let's maybe we can just start here. Like, what is abundance for you, and why were you there at this spiritual conference?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. I will say that I am more a student of abundance currently than I am a teacher of abundance, and that's okay. But I will give some thoughts on where I land. And super grateful to Preston Smiles, who obviously you and I both resonate with his authenticity and realness, but also his desire to serve and equip us with the capacity to serve ourselves.
Hmm.
What I'm learning about abundance is how self-generated it is, and I think there's a parallel to the work that I've been doing with mindfulness for some time in my life, which is really about making the U-turn back to ourselves, because I think we're wired and vulnerable to leak our attention and our energy into the outside world. And in this day and age, the culture that we are conditioned in is really teaching us to seek something outside of ourselves for happiness, for fulfillment, for safety, whether that's money or pleasure or romance. And as we grow up, we go down this pathway of continuing to evidence and condition the tendency to look out there for our abundance. And mindfulness and these abundance practices, and what I'm really reconditioning myself to do better and better, is to make that U-turn and to be able to love and energetically create within ourselves all of the conditions for the circumstantial abundance that we want. Like, we want the money, we want the outcome, we want the job, it's whatever it is, but it's the feeling, and it's self-generated, and there's this well of love and possibility within each of us. But if we're looking for it out there, we're constantly burnt out and exhausted because it's not out there. It starts in here.
And what was the shift for you to go from it's out here to it's in there?
Yeah, I think it's not a singular experience. It's a healing in growth and abundance are not linear journeys. It's 2 steps forward and 1 step back and 3 steps forward and 10 steps back. And, life is
It's a hell of
constantly,
a journey.
what did you say?
It's a hell of a journey.
It's a hell of a journey. Life keeps presenting you with reminders of the ways in which you are not dialed in and consistent or healed. And each reflection is just a moment to kind of tone your capacity and tone your mindset and encourage your healing. So for me, it's not been one shift, it's been many, many, many shifts. And maybe each moment one could look at as a shift.
Mhm.
In each moment I have an opportunity to either kind of get pulled into the reactivity of the unconscious mind, which is, again, typically looking for something out there, trying to control something out there to create peace within, an exhausting and often futile pattern, but understandable with our human conditioning. So I think the shift for me, I think the shift for anybody who's in this process is seeing each moment as an opportunity to shift and making these little tiny incremental shifts that over time with practice shift the baseline. So I'm in it, and this morning I was in my head about something that I wanted to be different in life. And it took me some time to walk and kind of shift back to me and that abundance mindset and that center positioning in myself. So one shift, many shifts. We can have big shifts that wake us up and really move the needle forward. And every moment's an opportunity to practice.
That's beautiful, and I'm curious if you are open to share with this thing that you went through this morning. How do you like maybe connect it with what's inside, which is very important, while still um, being a safe place for the persona or the ego or the part on you that want the money, that want the safety, that like how do you bridge the gap between the safety
Mm,
mechanism of the human stuff and just the mindfulness of the source in us? Because I've,
yeah.
I've heard someone said at one point, money is like your resources return into sources, and I find that beautiful.
Mm,
I find that very powerful.
mm,
So I wanted to have your hint on, yeah, how do you connect with it while still having a space for humanness to come.
sure. Yeah, that's a beautiful, beautiful question. And I really think there's an essence to the work that I do in the world within that question, and that's kind of the reduction of shame and resistance and self denial that um, we're doing so much of in this day and age. And I think that we the ego has gotten a bad rep, and thus we tend to really neglect or dishonor our humanness. Oh, I don't want to feel greedy. I don't want to feel jealous. I don't want to feel shame. I don't
That's
want to
bad.
feel
That's
anger.
freaking bad.
That's bad. Yeah. And the label of bad is the judgment in which we stay stuck in those energies, which, if you zoom out, like there is skillful and healthy versus unskillful and unhealthy. There's discernment in that. Like we don't want to live in shame. We don't want to live in anger. We don't want to live in scarcity. But in order to move through that, we have to hold space for it. We have to love the fullness of the human experience. So I think really for many of us, the pathway, at least I think speaking somewhat generally and in my own experience, the pathway to, the things that we future pace on, that we're excited, we're like, oh, I want the abundance. So yeah, I want to feel happy. Yeah, I want to be grateful. Uh, Another mentor of mine, Corey Mascara, says, I think really beautifully, we have to descend to transcend.
Ooh.
And I think that's what's really missing from our culture is the willingness to be uncomfortable, to go into the uncomfortable things, but not to do so without a tremendous amount of love and compassion. So to answer your question, it's bringing love, awareness, and compassion and care and acceptance to the parts of ourselves that are maybe a little icky, or that we don't want to feel, or that we don't want to think this way. Can you notice when you do that U-turn, can you notice that, oh, there's this like desire in me to like be super fucking rich, and like, oh, like I want a yacht. And it's like, then there's also this parallel conditioning of like, rich people are greedy and malicious and do bad things with their money. And so we have to kind of like hold space for all of this, and through the space of compassion and loving these parts of ourselves, we then awake to a process of inquiry, where we can then, from a more honest place, kind of question our conditioning, question our reactivity. Is this totally true that like all rich people are snobby, or that it's bad for me to want this? And then we kind of, with that space, we can kind of create a little bit of a new pattern, of a new way of looking at relating to the world. And so in this abundance work, it's been really beautiful for me going through my own money mindset to, hold space for and love the parts of me that were conditioned to think that money is bad, or that capitalism is bad. And that type of extreme language stops us from connecting intimately with our truth, connecting intimately with the others. We just need to remove the this is bad and that's shameful kind of energy. None of it's bad. It's how we're relating to it. It's the resistance and the self-sabotage and the self-hatred with which we relate to ourselves and parts of ourselves, that as we release, we create more space for a different way of showing up.
It was beautifully articulated. And one thing you mentioned, I think is very beautiful, is you want to bring compassion and love. Because, like you said, the ego has so much a bad rap. And the ego can also be very sneaky in the way it takes you. So you can very easily fall into spiritual bypassing by being like,
Yeah.
oh, anger, it's not wrong. So let's be fucking mad and talk trash about everyone that come in the street. And then there's the opposite, like, oh, anger is so bad. Like if I'm
Yeah.
happy all the time, I will manifest. But no, I've been that guy. I've been that guy, and I'm in it. Like right now, if I'm really authentic, I'm in the discovery of myself and the real truth
Mm.
about, you know, there is time where life is fucking hard. Sometimes life sucks. But if you are not able to say life sucks, and you always need to be the man who is strong and happy and everything is perfect, and yes, because I have a health situation, my health is going better and better every day. Like, you never feel what's really there. But like you
Mm.
said, if you bring love and compassion to what you are living while still not attaching to those emotions, there's come the presence with the peace and not the demonization of the ego, which
Yeah.
was beautifully articulated with you. And I just want to make a parallel because we were chatting about our healing journey on Instagram before this episode. I'm on my home right now, and you said that you had yourself a big experience of healing and injury or sickness. I didn't remember what exactly it was. I think you were into sport
Mm-hmm.
yourself too. So do
Yeah.
you want to touch back a bit on yeah, how this healing process begin the mindfulness part of yourself, the mindfulness part of your journey? So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah, so I started meditating when I was 23, and I went on my first silent retreat outside of New York City. It was a 5-day loving kindness retreat, and it just cracked my world open. It just cracked my heart open. I was like, "Oh, whoa, this is some
This
real
is
shit." So that was definitely a big shift. It pushed me to move abroad, and so I lived in Vietnam for 3 years,
okay.
and I spent time at monasteries in Thailand on retreat there, and really diving more deeply into myself. I would spend time at coffee shops drinking very intense Vietnamese coffee by the lakeside, journaling, reading spiritual texts, I called that era of my life the glad scientist era, because I feel like I was really just like
I love that.
connecting with who I wanted to be, and kind of removing myself from, some difficult cultural environments, especially in New York City and in the US, and getting some space from that. Um, and as I grew, I think also life started to kind of wake me up to a lot of the pain that I was carrying. And I had childhood trauma. I was obese when I was a kid, and I just had a lot of like just aches and pains and trauma stored in my body from early child, or from my early life. And then I played hockey through my 20s, and that beat me up, which and you're 18 and you fall and you injure your shoulder and you get back up and you play the next shift. But when you're 28, that shit starts to, pile up and hurt more. And as soon as I moved to Vietnam, I slipped and I fell and I injured my tailbone, and that just started cascading into like worse and worse injury in my body. It was in my hip and in my back and now in my neck. And it really debilitated me. And I felt very lost and dysregulated, starting to get more and more dysregulated over the time that I was living in Vietnam.
What do you mean by dysregulated?
Like my nervous system was overwhelmed. And I didn't understand that at the time. I didn't have the language for that at the time. But my body was telling me something is wrong. And I didn't know how to listen. And so I let things get worse. I was in a relationship that was bringing up all of my trauma. And that was also dysregulating in hindsight. And then COVID hit. And that was existential. Is my family going to be okay? And, I'd been trying for some of that time to try to piece together a coaching practice and business. And I was teaching English and exploring in what ways that I wanted to teach and mentor. But I just felt very stuck. And in terms of big shifts in my life, there was this moment, sometime around maybe April of 2020, where I was just so beat up and so confused and felt so helpless and powerless to be able to heal my body and my spirit and my relationship. And I wanted so desperately to be able to give, to be able to create, to be able to be authentic in this world. And I just realized in this moment that like the timeline had to collapse. Like, and this is that U-turn of like, you want so desperately to be at the destination. I want to be healthy and healed and coaching and teaching. And life was just saying, dude, you need to take care of yourself. And in that moment, I realized, and this realization is the basis, so much of the basis for the work that I do, which is centered around, helping people who want to be of service to themselves. Because there's so many wounded healer archetypes out there in the world who are trying to give to others from an empty cup. And I was trying to give from an empty cup. You can't create anything when you're exhausted and in pain and suffering yourself and not dealing with it. So in this moment, I realized, whoa, I need to just prioritize my healing. I need to go home. I need to take care of myself. And that is not a failure. That is a step in the direction of my contribution, which is deep down my heart's desire and what I know that I am here to do and love to do and get a lot of joy from. And I could not do that from a place of constant exhaustion and burnout and pain and dysregulation. So that was what really, I think, I know initiated a deepening healing journey, which, took me home and really just, called forth the love and the compassion to stop trying to force through to what you think other people want from you or what you think you're supposed to do, or to try to rush to the destination. It's to really respect the journey and the process. And coming home, started getting coached. I got certified as a coach, did a lot of healing work, and I've been on that journey both as a teacher and a student of life more intentionally for, I guess, for almost 5 years now, and really toe the balance between what I can give and share being dependent on how I can embody that and heal that within myself. Am I practicing what I'm preaching? And I believe that that is inherently interconnected. You cannot go out there and express something to someone that you have not expressed within yourself, or at least have started to express within yourself. So I'm deeply committed to my healing practice. It's what lights me up more than anything. And then it equips me to be able to show up and offer that to others. And I've had many other moments of shifts. A breakup recently has taken me to a whole nother level. And I respect the nonlinear journey and that it's a lifelong process, and at times harrowing one, but a very fulfilling one.
Man, you cracked my heart right open.
Let's go.
You know what? Last week I had that moment because I'm on my between 2 and 3 years of pain, sickness, and stuff like that, and all the life that I think I was meant to live gone. And I am at a point like you where I want to serve and be fulfilled and express love, but I am still in my journey of recovery. And I'm trying to build the coaching business. I'm trying to do my podcast. Everything comes from a place of fuck, I'm tired of this and I just want to live um and to give and to express. But there is the moment, the present moment, which is asking me to surrender and to trust that it will be all right. But that's fucking damn it so hard for me right now. And last week I fell in tears. I fell in tears because for the first time in my life I was faced with hopelessness and lack of trust. I was like, I know I have the potential to help people and to build something that is really authentic for me, but I don't know why life you're like it don't flow right now. And I don't know why, but I will choose to surrender. And then I slow down my project of the podcast. I slow down my coaching stuff. I slow down another project I was in. And I said, all right, buddy, if you need my time, if you need my attention, you got this. But that was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, honestly. And why it cracked me so open because I saw and I sensed where you came from and the authenticity behind your sharing. And that really touches me because you I can sense that you have a nervous system that is regulated right now. But sometimes,
Right now it is.
yes, right now it is. But sometimes we want the fruit of life, but the fruit is not ready. And if God will deliver this fruit, it will be like, nah, not tasty at all, not sugary, not. But we just have to trust. And talking about trust and surrender, how was the grief process around that? Because to surrender and to trust something that you don't know, and all the things you think you have to do, and all the things you think you have to be and have, so you can step into your journey, is not necessarily what the universe asked for you at that time. What was the process looking like for you? Were you conscious at that time? How did you face a point where you were like, you know what? I have to take care of myself. It's not, oh, I can do the both at the same. I can grind it out or whatever. Like, how was the process was for you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to reflect that I see you showing up and not just being so incredibly generous to the world around you, but also having the courage to be generous to yourself and to slow down. And I want you to know that you are a gift to the world around you, to me. To create this space for us to connect is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And that I hope that you continue to be a gift to yourself, because, as you fill your own cup up, it just flows freely for for everybody to experience the goodness that is you. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being here and slowing down. And I love the like the fruit is not ready analogy. I think that's beautiful and so on point. And I think it comes back to that conditioning that we have to fixate on the fruits of our labor, to fixate on the outcome, to fixate on getting to the top of the mountain. I'll be okay when. I will be happy when I get to eat the fruit. And I think really the game of this reconditioning ourselves to presence, and in order to find, some of the deeper things that we're really looking for, which are peace and ease and surrender and acceptance and joy, is to learn to love. And really this comes from making meaning and making connections, to answer your question in a moment, but to learn to appreciate the whole process of picking out the seeds and putting the seeds in the garden and tending to the garden and adding water. And oh shit, there's a hurricane. This is hard. What do I do with my garden? I've lost my whole crop. We have to start over again, which is like more and more a realistic thing nowadays, sadly, but it's a real challenge that we have to meet. And loving that whole process, and how much joy can I find in the process of bringing the fruits to life, and letting the fruits be brought to life in the experience of enjoying the fruits just be another extra awesome thing. And the more that we can really appreciate the whole thing, the less disheveled we're going to be when we've digested and shit out the fruits and then they're gone. And it's like, well, I got to spend a whole nother year growing more fruits. I got to wait till next summer for more. What am I going to do with myself? It's like, that's the pattern we're in. Yeah. It's the hedonistic treadmill, and we're chasing and chasing and chasing. And just nowadays we have fruits everywhere that we can pick instantaneously. And so we've forgotten to appreciate and love and respect and have fun with the process of tending the garden. And so to answer your question about, how do you deal with, the grief of things, is I think we're mastering meaning, and I know you're in Peter Crone's mastermind, and he's the boss of all bosses when it comes to, architecting, if that's a word, architecting language, as a way to understand our experience and understand our perception of life. For me in that moment, it was the collapsing of the timeline was making a connection and making meaning, to realize that, like you said, life is not going to just give me the fruits if I haven't spent the time tending to the garden. And there is surrender in that. And then there's also like, okay, well, how am I going to make the most out of this process? How am I going to appreciate it? How am I going to find fulfillment in it? And that's the shift, that's the choice in every day and every moment. And we do it as much as possible, is to decide, how am I going to look at this through a lens of, either gratitude or abundance or love or compassion when it's difficult, acceptance when it's difficult, surrender when it's difficult, not to deny the hurricane or the loss of crops. We have to hold space for all of that too. It's part of the process. But really using our capacity, I think our greatest asset, but also our greatest vulnerability as human beings, is our ability to tell stories. It's the imagination, it's the storyteller in us that has allowed us to evolve and innovate for hundreds of thousands of years and to put us here now. It's also that capacity that has allowed us to create such conviction in beliefs around spirituality. I'm talking about organized religion, and such conviction around beliefs around land and entitlement that we kill each other so fucking much to the point that we may not survive. So we have this imagination, and it's either this greatest asset or this biggest fucking weakness, and we have to learn to use it. We have to learn to steward it for good. And when life comes and bitch slaps us and says, no, you're not ready for those juicy fruits, my friend, you can sit here in victim mode and say, oh, well, I didn't get it. And you can lash. And it's like, at a certain point, you realize the futility and the exhaustion of that. Or you can say, I'm going to make meaning out of this. I'm going to use the beautiful imagination of the human mind and spirit to create a positive direction for me. And I think every time that we're challenged and we can do that, we build greater capacity to face life's challenges and make meaning out of the mess.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like it is so beautifully expressed in the book Man's Search for Meaning with Viktor Frankl. No matter what you're going through, it's the meaning you attach to the story you are living, right?
Yeah.
And I'm curious, talking about healing, how was your healing process look like? Like, of course, there was some nervous system regulation, which I think is fucking big. Like,
Yeah.
the medical system, I don't think will be the same in 50 years. That comes down
Hope
to
not.
hope not, of course. Emotional regulation, trauma repressed, nervous system, everything like I've learned so much about how the body is just telling you some key message, key concept that if you just listen to the body and tune into the body, you can have a lot. So I'm curious, how did it look like for you at 23 years old? And did you said you started also your coaching business around the same time. So did you take some step toward what your heart is telling you while healing, or you heal at 100% and then you start?
Yeah. Great concept and question to bring up. And it's, I think, so relevant. And I'm really I don't think I fully understood that at 28, or excuse me, so I came home and really started this healing journey in 2020. So I must have been turning 30. And
So wait. You start having the pain around 23?
I think that now I know in hindsight that I was carrying a lot of pain
Yes, of course.
for a long time. I think, as a part of an answer to your question, we're so numbed out, and especially as a man, and I don't know if you relate to this as a hockey player, it's like,
100%. Never listen to the
yeah,
body. Go full out. Yeah.
push that shit down, it's like, you got to go, and like, there's a certain like warrior nature to that I think, is beautiful in balance. But I think it's also a huge part of why I carried a lot in my 20s. And then when I got to Vietnam is when I fell. And that was the injury that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
That was when I injured my tailbone, and it just started to, like, my hips started to feel worse, my knees, everything just is like my body and life being like, yo, you need to listen.
It was the drop that made everything exploded.
Exactly. So I kind of muddled around in the dark for a few years in more and more pain until it really got bad enough. Like, it had to get so bad. And this is what's crazy, is how bad we can let it get before we're like, fuck, okay, I really got to do something to this, know? So it was when I was 30, so I'm 33 now. I guess I was 29. That's when I decided to come home from Vietnam during COVID. And that's when I really started to be much more intentional about my healing process. And you asked, did I start coaching? I think something that Peter Crone, who in our masterclass has articulated, or you were in one of them before, but he talks about, instead of solving issues, we're dissolving problems. And it's really, a lot of it's about creating space. And this is the concept in mindfulness too. You think about space, loving awareness is just space. You're not doing this U-turn and meditating on the breath to try to fix the breath. You're not meditating on the pain that you feel in your body or in your heart to try to fix it.
Yeah.
you're just creating space. You're creating love and compassion for it to exist. And I think what I'm really beginning to more deeply understand is how well the body and the brain and life knows how to heal. Like I think the best way to look at it is that we have an emotional digestive system that we're born with, the same way that we have a
I
a
got
food digestive system. Exactly. Yeah. And we've just like the more that we lose ourselves to the outside world, the more that we're disconnected from our bodies. My hands are all the way out here. Um, the less in tune with that we are, and the more indigestion we get, the more shit gets stuck in our colon or our metaphorical. What are the other things in your digestive system?
their stomach
Digestive
or
tract.
yeah, all the digestive tract.
Yeah, it gets stuck, and I think really our mission is to come back to our digestive system and let it do its thing. And I think that's just through creating the space. And there are a lot of things that help it, breath work. I've done a lot of Kundalini and Tantra in the past 6 months, which has been huge for me. Parts work, there's all the different therapeutic models that help reconnect us with our body and our brain's ability to digest things. And
It's come back again, sorry, to reconnecting to the source, like abandoned.
yeah, exactly. And I think there's both a human level to it, like, which is perhaps depending on how you look at it, but it's like, how fucking magical is this human machine? Like, it's a miracle, So, in some way, shape, or form, the divine intelligence has created this perfectly imperfect thing to be able to handle stuff. And we've just really kind of turned it offline. And the more that we come online through creating space for ourselves, through loving ourselves, through accepting ourselves, I think a lot of these things kind of happen naturally.
Mm.
So I think when I came home and I just gave myself this radical permission, like permission is such an important concept that we're missing out on these days. Like, give yourself permission. Give yourself permission to heal. Give yourself permission to rest. Give yourself permission to be yourself. We're waiting for someone else to give us permission. No one's going to give you permission. People are going to tell you who they think you should be, and you're going to fight that. So, giving myself permission to come home and heal, it naturally created the space for me to be like, well, what do I want to do if I'm not like trying so hard? Well, I want to get certified as a coach. I want to coach. So this is again kind of coming back to my base concept was that like as we give ourselves permission to heal and take care of ourselves and love ourselves, I think very naturally the space also arises for us to follow our hearts and do the things necessary that we need to do, put ourselves in the position, create the opportunities to actually build what we say we want to build, or contribute in the way that we want to contribute. I couldn't coach before. I couldn't learn to be a coach before I gave myself permission to take care of myself.
Mm.
And I think that those often need a little bit of balancing in a world that tends to focus on how do I give and go and build first. Well, how do you create space and then let that more naturally arise? It's much more sustainable. You will
Mm.
burn out much less and you will cause yourself much less pain. And as a result, you'll get to serve people for much longer and in much better quality because you'll be healthy and whole and happy.
Mm.
So that was my experience of working through that and creating space and yeah, learning more and more about how my body can heal itself.
It's like you talked about permission. Like, how can I allow myself to give me the signals I need to have to learn who do you want me to be? For me, it was huge. It's crazy because you talk about like digestion and stuff like this. For the last 3 years, one of my main thing is digestion. I have something called gastroparesis, which is super funny. Like your stomach doesn't move, so it's very difficult to have the food you need. And at one point, I connected the dot. I was like, there is something I'm not digesting. It's not about the food.
Mm,
It's not just about the food. And I started recently, even if I have nausea after a meal, I'm like, I allow the nausea to be there.
mm,
I allow every part of the feeling to be there. And then I realized there was some positive consequences afterward on the thing inside. And I was like, that's curious. And it's a little bit taboo to talk about poop, but with gastroparesis come chronic constipation. And just by allowing it everything to be, like for myself, it's very difficult to be constipated. Like it's something I very struggle and not much. I don't know anyone who like to be constipated either, but like, and at one point I was like, you know what? I asked God, like, what am I not able to let go? And a voice in my head came, and it just said, you have nothing to let go, but you have everything to let be. And I was like, oh
mm,
shit, what if the constipation is just there to make me realize how fear I am of being sick? What if I can
mm,
just let every sensation in my body be whatever it has to be without putting a label of it is wrong?
mm,
It is wrong. And just come back full circle to what you said. When you allow everything to be, when you give permission to be, you create a space,
mm,
and that space is where you heal. So I'm so grateful that you are an embodied example of what it is to heal, because you can, yes, find, like at the place you were at, you can take like Advils and Tylenol and stuff to and numb the pain, but we numb the pain outside like we numb the pain inside, the anger, the suffering,
yeah.
the pain, the struggle. But what I love about your message is healing is not about repressing anything, it's about create a space for everything.
Mm. Whew. I love it, love it, love it. And
Amen.
I just go
No, I just said amen.
ahead. Is that what does that mean?
It just for
Is that
me
like a
like,
phrase?
no, amen is like I'm not Christian, but you say
Oh,
amen
amen.
at the end of like a prayer or something like that. And I was
Oh, I
like,
thought you.
it just it was what coming through my mind. I didn't talk about anything. I was like just, you know, filtering what come through.
I thought you said "Hey man," and I was like, "Is
Oh,
that some French Canadian like phrase that
no,
I
no,
don't
no, no, no,
understand?"
no.
No, "Amen" makes total sense. Yes,
All right.
amen.
Amen.
Yeah, I just love. I want to come back to that because I think, yeah, I want to reflect on that. I just think it's so beautiful that you are able to just be with the nausea and then you get to notice the positive effects of that. Like that is such powerful healing at work. And I relate intimately with something that has been, a symptom of my deeper hurt over the past year and a half has been really intense insomnia.
Hmm.
And
I've been there with that too.
it's so hard because it puts you at such a, and I think the constipation is similarly challenging in that there's like, you have a biological disadvantage. Like your body hurts. And I would imagine that, people with very intense physiological symptoms who can work through and heal that have such an adversity to fight, but such a resiliency to gain from it.
Hmm.
And that's been my experience. And insomnia has been a great teacher to me because for a long time it has disabled me and I have fought it as the victim, as an adversary, and struggled with it. And especially struggled with feeling tired
Hmm.
on a day where I have something that's important to me and I don't want to be tired. And I think what you're articulating really beautifully in your own practice and feeling as healing is to, and this kind of comes full circle to our meaning making and abundance conversation of like, can we feel the sensations without labeling them as good or bad, without the story?
Boom.
Because it's like, and it's so, it's not easy. It's, maybe one of the greatest training grounds on planet Earth is, can we face discomfort? Can we face pain? Can we face difficulty? And notice the tendency to spin a story about it. And the true space creation, the true mindfulness, and I believe the true loosening of the grip that hard experiences have on us comes through dropping the story and just facing, and this is the embodiment, facing the sensations themselves. And like, that's what the emotional digestive system is looking for. It's like, can you drop the fucking story already? Because you're creating so much more suffering and resistance in your mind,
Yeah.
and inherently in your body and in your spirit.
Yeah.
And when you can learn to drop that and just accept, wow, I feel nauseous right now. What are the sensations of nausea? Okay, can I be with this? Can I be with this is one of the most empowering fucking questions and practices you can do. And as I've learned to recognize the ways in which I would cry and rage when I didn't sleep well, and it was like an important day, and I just would put so much meaning to it that just fed the pain. It felt the suffering and resistance. And as I started to learn to be like, okay, can I just notice the sensations of being tired without saying, I am tired, I am tired, I am tired? And it's like there's this like radiation feeling like in my thighs and in my chest, and it's not comfortable. It kind of sucks. But the more that I could just drop into that, the more peace I would feel. And I think that's the kind of like counterintuitive culturally pathway that we need to take to true healing, is like, can I step into this and be with this?
Mm-hmm.
And the more that we do that, the more things loosen up, like you've experienced. And it's a constant practice of noticing when I'm creating a story in my head. I see that we have some internet issues.
Damn it. Quiggy,
Yeah,
are you there?
I'm here.
All right. So is your internet connection good?
Yeah, it should be. That the little warning went away, so I'm assuming that we're good.
All right. So yeah, because my internet is 100 fine right now, and I'm here able to hear you right now. So you were saying some stuff, which was
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
Yeah. To finish that thought, I think, and to tie in the abundance work and the mindset work, and this is, kind of what I'm really stepping into in my personal world, is the mindfulness is really equipping us with the ability to just like turn towards the sensations without the story, and to just be with and accept. And that on its own, really allows the body and the brain and source, the resource, to help start to digest what we're carrying when we drop the resistance. And then we also create space to kind of like use our mind to support that.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's room for, okay, so I've dropped the story that's causing resistance. I'm feeling the sensations. Things are loosening up. What story do I want to tell myself now? What perspective would support my system, would support my energy, would support my healing, would support my integrity? And I think one of the most empowering narratives for people who struggle with really intense physiological symptoms, like I have, like you have on their healing journey, is as you create enough space to be like, to find gratitude for the lessons, gratitude for the way in which this is teaching me to be more compassionate. This is teaching me to be more mindful. This is teaching me resiliency. This is helping guide me back to my ability to heal. And what a gift that is from life. Joe Dispenza says life, gives you impossible seeming situations that are really opportunities in disguise. Like illness, if we choose to look at it as such, and we gain the skills and the mindset to work with it, is really a beautiful opportunity to come home to ourselves. And as we heal, I've experienced more and more power to be able to face all the other layers that come up and also to share that with people. And so that gratitude creates more space. And I think that's where the abundance comes. Now we're really starting to roll here. And so maybe there's a turning point at some point for all of us.
Hmm. And you bring a beautiful point also, which was curiosity. Instead of judging what you are going through, maybe just getting curious about what, I feel
Mm,
nausea. Hmm. But if
yeah.
you remove the term nausea, it's just a sensation.
Yeah.
Is it big? Is it loud? Is it
Mm,
heavy? Like just bringing curiosity opens up space. I think the name of the show today will be like just create space. Because at the end of the day, the space that we are able to create and the like the space is like a container. It's like you start creating everything from that space. So what is
mm,
the space you want to create? What is the space you want to hold yourself in? And I think also you mentioned a question which is beautiful. You said, can I be with this? And there will be a moment, like for example, yesterday I woke up at 3 a.m. and I was not able to go to sleep again. And there is some point where I cannot be with this.
yeah.
There's a part of me that cannot be with this. But can I be with the part of me that cannot be with this? So I will like
Mm,
just
mm,
at 3 a.m. I was like that with myself. Like I'm with you,
mm,
buddy. It's so freaking hard. I know you just want to freaking scream, but at 3
yeah.
a.m. and you don't want to wake up the entire city. But like there's the anger, there's the fuck.
Yeah.
Why me? Why now? But can I be also with that part?
Mm,
It's
yeah.
that's the space you want to create. And I think that's the space that by you stepping into those shoes when you were sick is the space you are able now to create with your client. Is the space I feel right now when I talk to you. Is the feeling of I am safe. And Peter Crown is big on that. Like,
Yeah.
can you be this like can you be safe even though your ego say to you that everything around you is not safe? At the end of the day, Peter said that in the Mastermind 5 and I was really shocked by it. It was beautiful said. He said, in reality, you will be fine until you won't. And you don't have to stress about at that time because the part of you that is struggling won't be there to judge this as I'm not safe. So just
Yeah.
can you like open your eyes to the safety that is inside of you all the time?
Mm, mm,
So man, there was a lot I wanted to talk about, and I know we have like 15 or 20 minutes before we jumped on, and I have my five final questions, which I love. But there is one question I really wanted to ask you, um, because I really feel that in you is why authenticity is so important for you, and where does this concept come?
yeah. Oh, I think authenticity comes from, I mean, authenticity is a buzzword these days, and for good reason, because I think culturally we're waking up to the fact that, well, we're all really unique. We don't quite fit into the same box.
Mm.
And when we try to stay in that box that's been defined with us, we tend to die on the inside until we explode. So,
Yeah.
I don't want to die on the inside until I explode. I want to empower people with both the reflected permission, but also empower them to create their own self permission to be who they want to be, truly, sincerely, lovingly. And I just, I'm driven by, I'm a systems thinker. I'm a big, like, within me, there's this like philosopher who wants to fucking save the world. And I love trying to wrap my head around the complexities of an ever evolving world, technologically, culturally, the way that global systems are run. And I just feel intimately the sense that the less authentic we are, the more likely that this ship will sink. Because, and when I say the ship sinking, I mean like humans not making it out of the next 50, 100 years. Because at the end of the day, people chasing a sense of security through a corporate job, and I'm totally knocking at this, one type of lifestyle or the white picket fence or what, like if we're chasing these like boxed in versions of what happiness means, so many people are again hurting as a result, but more importantly to that bigger equation, they're not sharing what they have to share with the world. And I just know that on its own, we deserve to be authentic and happy and healthy. Like, you don't have to have a service mindset. But truth be told, like, even just taking care of yourself and giving yourself permission to really be you makes a difference in
Oh,
your family and your communities, right? Like, you don't need to have this big fucking mission other than to just be happy and healthy. And that truly, based on our interdependence, supports the greater good. So I think that in of itself is important. And for me, the greater mission is like, the more authentic we are, the more people are empowered to show up and create and give and serve and make the world a better place from a place of, yeah, energy and truth and sustainability, rather than like constantly trying to fit a square peg into a round hole and burning out, which is like, the more that we burn out as individuals and culturally, literally the earth is going to burn out. So authenticity is fucking key, not just for your health, your happiness, my happiness, but everybody whose lives that we touch along the way. And those are my thoughts on authenticity. There's a lot more, but I heard you got 5 questions, so I'll keep it concise.
I love it, man. I really love it. And yeah, the thing you said about authenticity, no, not everyone is a Mahatma Gandhi, but by you stepping into your own shoes and being really happy, is by doing that, you allow everyone to be happy too, without having to be a Mahatma Gandhi. And that was something I was struggling for. Like, I need to serve, I need to fucking save the world. But at the end of the day, the world doesn't need anything from you except you being you.
Yeah.
So, Quiggy, before my final questions, you have one question to ask me, which is
Yeah.
a beautiful concept on my podcast. But before you have the question, I just want to really acknowledge you, honestly. I feel grateful for these conversations. I feel grateful for the man you are and for the coach you are and the vision you have. There was a lot of things I wanted to go through, your vision, your DJ, your music, your there was so much more. Maybe we can do a part two, but I just want to, yeah, to thank you for being the man you are, and to not have giving up on your authenticity when life was giving you 100% to give up on your thing. So thank you, man.
Thank you. And I receive that wholeheartedly, and not as a deflection, but as a reflection and an honest appreciation. I have incredible gratitude for you because we are creating this together. You could be stiff as a board over there and not practicing anything that you preach, and it would be really hard for me to embody and articulate the things that I really want to share from my heart. And I just feel in you such an authenticity and a heart and a care. And yeah, you're beautiful. And I really appreciate you creating this space and us doing this together. It's a team effort. So thank you for being you. And as you're you and I'm me, we create magic.
Thank you, man. So for one question, it's your time to be the host.
Yeah. I'd love to know about your journey. You said that you were a hockey player and that you were planning to pursue that as a career, perhaps. And then you have had this sickness come up. And I'd be curious to hear your journey in knowing through my own of a similar experience, the ways in which you had to go through an identity crisis and how, shocking to your system it may be to have a very different, like to wake up to a very different reality, and how you have made meaning out of that and found yourself in a position where maybe you have shifted gears, shifted identity, found gratitude, found a different path. Like, when along that journey did you find acceptance and gratitude of like, hey, I'm not going to be a hockey player anymore and I'm ready to step into this new path? Or is that still coming?
Yeah, beautiful question. The real answer, the real answer is I'm still on it right now. And there is multiple layer in terms of grieving or having an identity crisis and surrendering. There was a point where I was like, yeah, I really surrender. It's not who I am anymore. And then I realized and I called bullshit on myself. No, fuck that. It's just a story you make on top of what you are truly feeling so that you don't go into that. But 2 months ago, I pray life to show me the truth. And when you ask life to show you the truth, it shows you the fucking truth. And it was at that time that I saw that I was not able to let go of the identity. So it's really a big processes. All my life was attached to being that version of a type A competitor and a type A performer. Like I was the competitor around the competitor. Like we had a practice at 6:30 in the morning, but I will wake up at 4:30 to have another one before. So everything in my life was so that I become this idea of being someone. And then I was faced in the mirror one day looking at myself, 50 pounds underweight and not a hockey player anymore, and not with the shape I was using to be, and not with the strength I was using to be. Like right now, girls are pretty fucking strong compared to me right now. And I was used to be fucking strong. And I had to look myself in the mirror and say, who are you without all those masks?
Mm.
And it cracked me right open. Honestly, that was art. And so that when I say there is multiple layer, it's like every day I had to shed the skin like a snake, shed my own skin like a snake. And I am right now on a 100-day challenges of 2 hours to listen silence every day. And I cry a lot during those moments because I'm faced with who are you without all of this.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
would add to that yes, of course, there was story around being an hockey player, but it was also my passion, the thing I was loving the most in life. I was like maybe 10, 15, 20 hours per week doing something to play that game. So I would say that one night on two, I dreamed about hockey still to this day. And I wake up sometimes in tears because I feel like my baby has been taken away from me. Um, so I'm in the journey of discovering who Michael is. Really, Michael is
Mm.
not the hockey player, not just Michael. And
Mm.
beyond that, just this without the Michael. In fact, like I'm just asking right now because honestly, I feel lost. I feel lost right now. I'm in a place where I don't really know, but I'm in a process. I think the unknown is the best place to know yourself too. And the silence
Mm.
is the best place. This spaces of silence is the best place to really see who are you.
Mm.
I hope it answer your questions.
Oof. I have no further comments. Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah,
Mm.
thank you for asking. It is
Yeah.
it is sometimes challenging to reveal to the world that you don't really know who you are right now. But
Yeah.
do we really know who we are until we lose what we always think we were?
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
It's the contrast. We learn so much from contrast. We learn from loss. We learn from fear. We learn from scarcity. We learn from lack.
Yes.
It shows us back to where we want to be. And I'll just say, you're on to something. You're on to something. You're vibrant and you have such a gift. So yeah, respect for your bravery to face yourself and face the challenges that you're going through. And yeah, grateful to know you and to connect with you.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah. So finally, the four last question, and no, three questions and one very nice activity, 1 minute activity. So the first one is Quiggy. If you have one thing that you could say to the world right now and everyone could hear you, what would you say?
Oof, loaded question. Slow down and give yourself permission. Give yourself permission, whether that's to heal if you feel like something needs to be healed. Give yourself permission to follow what you really want to do. Give yourself permission to feel what you may be afraid to feel.
Mm.
Give yourself permission. Slow down and give yourself permission.
Beautiful. The second one, what is one thing that you are afraid that the world see in you right now?
Say that one more time.
Um, One thing you are afraid people see in you.
One thing people. Oh, interesting. Oh, that's a great question. Yes. Um, there is part of me who is, per my own wounding, on top of the normal wiring as social creatures looking for approval, who wants to be seen a certain way, who is trying to prove himself, who wants to be valued and approved, and who is showing off.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm learning to love that part of myself and to give him space and to know that that's not all of me.
Hmm.
And even in naming it is creating a space for that, is releasing the shame from that of like, yeah, sometimes I fucking show off because I understand intimately the reasons why my brain and my body and my subconscious do that. And I don't have to feel like, wow, what a schmuck I am to show off. For a long time I did,
Yeah.
and it's okay.
Yes, it's okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for being open. The last one, in one word, just complete my sentence as a metaphor. So life
Okay.
is dot, dot, dot.
Uh, okay, this is one that I was coming up with the other day. So life is like a house of a fun house of mirrors. You have the mirrors and they're all the different shapes, and or at least relationally. We go and experiences people, they mirror back to us what's going on within us. But what I've come to understand is that mirror image is not always necessarily reflecting an unfiltered reality, because everybody is seeing life through their own version of a funhouse mirror. So you may walk up to a mirror that's got like short and fat, and what you see is, oh, I'm short and fat. And what is challenging is that we get these mirror reflections that are information for us to learn more about ourselves, to integrate more of ourselves, but they're often coming through filters of other people's own limiting beliefs, perceptual filters. And what can be really challenging is to bring the curiosity and the discernment to receive this information.
Hmm.
And I think this kind of comes back to like being triggered. Like when you get a really harsh view of yourself, you get a criticism through one of these funhouse mirrors and it triggers you. It's so hard to sort through, like, is this true? To what extent is it true? Where do I end and the person begins? We have to work with kind of like our own filter and the other person's filter, the experience's filter. And we're constantly learning. And comparing different mirrors to help to try to come to like a deeper realization of what's true for us. And I think that can be very challenging in a world that is so hurt. And we're constantly getting these reflections. And a lot of the times, others are coming from their own hurt. We're coming from our own hurt. And to sort through and find the truth and the love in it can be a challenge met with curiosity and care and compassion and grace and patience. And as we slowly kind of sort through it, we start to discover more and more who we really are and who we want to be and how we want to show up. And it can feel super fucking confusing and complicated. It's really the point of the equation. And I'm still working on the analogy, but I think there's some truth to it. So
Yeah, that's
work in
beautiful.
progress.
Thank you for this metaphor. It was very I'm looking for the word in English. My French gets in the way, but like a complete reflection. Like
Hope so.
it made sense. Yes, of course. The last one come from a man that I love. His name is Cal Cease. I don't know if you are familiar with him. So I went to one of his events called the Big One, and this man has created something. It's called a Cal Lego. So a Cal Lego is like you during 1 minute will speak like if we have a conversation 1 year from today, and everything has gone the way you want it to be for the next year. So you will start the sentence like, "Do you remember last year when we were doing your podcast?" And then
Ooh.
1 minute, go crazy, have fun.
Okay. Do you remember last year when we were doing your podcast and we were talking about all these different concepts, and I'm all over the place and grabbing fruit over here and throwing fruit over there? Well, now I'm sitting at a coffee shop in Malta in the Mediterranean on a cobblestone street in the middle of an old castle. And every morning I wake up and I have a coffee and I am writing, and I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book that is putting all of my ideas into one place and calling forward the culture in the world that I think that is going to improve humanity.
Hmm.
And I'm really excited about it. And I love to write and express, and I'm having a damn good time doing it. And it feels right.
Freaking amazing. And what else? I'm freaking curious. There is something else. I know.
There may or may not be a beautiful woman next to me.
All right.
I'm okay. I'm okay either way.
All right.
But I'm happy. I'm content. I'm at ease. I can sit peacefully. And it's a joy to be able to serve and connect with incredible clients and communities that I have created and supported. And I feel seen, and I feel like I'm in my fucking greatness, and lovingly so.
Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go.
And I forget it. One of my most important questions, I don't know why it goes out from my mind. My last question, Quiggy. If I pray for you tonight, what should I pray for?
Please pray that my nervous system continues to heal, that I continue to find more and more peace and acceptance with what's here right now, and that I am able to relax more and more into life in this present moment and enjoy it more and more fully, regardless of circumstance.
You will be in my prayer tonight. God bless you.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
It was an absolute honor and a pleasure on this side as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And if people want to join you or reach to you, where they can find you?
Yeah. So my company is called Quigg Cultivation, like cultivating a garden. You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and my website under that name. And I'm also on Insight Timer.
Okay,
Those are the places to find me. Yeah.
beautiful. The link will be in the show notes for sure.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you, man. Have an amazing day.
You too.
Thank you for all. Thank you if you have taken the time to listen to all of the episode. I hope it resonates with you. I hope you find meaning into that episode. And if you want to know more about Quiggy, go follow him, go support him. All his link will be in the show note. And again, thank you. And please let a review, share it, add a comment, give me feedback on what I can improve. Maybe if you have anyone do you want me to bring on this podcast, let me know. Let me really know. I'm open to know. May peace and love be with you, and never forget that you are loved, you are seen, you are heard, and you matter, my friend.